Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Nice meeting all of you here. Just this topic of thought management, I will come to my introduction in a minute. It was a very good exercise today.
You might need to speak louder.
A bit louder, okay. It was a very good exercise for me about thought management. Just imagine 5 minutes before coming here, I was actually one of the attendees being told that you have to speak on it. So what would run through your mind? That's something that's interesting. I was just checking myself, talking about thought management and actually thoughts going on in your own mind. So my name is Bhanu Prasad and I come from a background of meditation. I work as an IT consultant. I work for a large consulting company that does consulting in software and so on. But I also am a student at this time, so I completely relate with you. I'm doing my management education at Harvard University. So this is a good opportunity for me to come back and connect with the university. I've studied most of my education in India, and here I am in front of all of you. Just want to get a quick round of expectations from the session, so as to say. What is the first thought that comes to your mind when you say thought management?
Focus.
Focus. Anything else?
Stopping the negative tape.
Stopping the negative tape, very good. What else?
Control.
Control, okay. What else?
Anxiety.
Anxiety, okay. So do you feel anxiety or do you want to stop anxiety? Stop anxiety. You could feel anxious when you want to stop thoughts or you want to manage thoughts. First question is, how many of you have a background of some sort? You're sitting in a very nice place where most of you are sitting on the floor. How many of you have a nice a background in terms of any meditation technique, any silence technique, any raise of hands? Okay.
No.
Little bit. Okay. So we'll come to that towards the end. Jay will cover in detail about that. In the field of thought management, how many of you think that thoughts drive us?
I'm sorry?
How many of you think that thoughts actually are driving us and we are not driving the thoughts? What do you think?
I think for most people it's the first one.
The thoughts are driving? Okay. What do you personally feel?
I think they're mutual.
They're mutual? What is a better state to be in?
That we are driving thoughts.
We are driving the thoughts. So it's always good to be in the driver's seat and actually control, be in charge. So how do we go about driving thoughts? What actually causes these thoughts to come? How do you categorize those thoughts?
Worries.
Worries?
Worries.
Okay. Okay. How do you categorize those thoughts in terms of, sorry, you're saying that? Yeah. Worries, negativity, anxiety, stress, whatnot. So where do these thoughts originate from?
The right brain.
From the?
The right brain.
From the right brain. Okay. A very left brain answer. Where do thoughts originate from?
Past experience.
Past experiences. So how many of you have thoughts while you sleep and you remember them the next day? Okay, well, I remember most of my dreams. Yeah. Why do we have dreams? Why do we have thoughts during dreams?
Subconscious.
It's subconscious mind takes over. It's a projection of what we have experienced throughout the day, what we would like to have experienced throughout the day, and so on. And you just see, the moment you close your eyes now, what happens? Just experiment now. Just close your eyes now for a second. All of you. Thank you. What did you think about? Any rough idea? What did you think about?
Calming, relaxing.
Calming, relaxing, very good.
I have a speech I have to give today.
You have a speech you have to give today. Yeah, what else? What did you think of? Or
I
do
was
you don't remember?
thinking about the things you had just said.
You're just thinking about the things that you had just said. Yeah. Anybody else? Or you don't remember what you just said? What went through your mind? It's important for us to understand that. The reason is, a lot of us, the moment we close our eyes, right, it's not necessarily when you sleep, the subconscious mind takes over. And it starts taking you on all the things that you wanted to do, all the things that you had, like tasks that you had to complete today, all the things that you heard so far, and you start putting images on top of them. I heard this just now, and now this means this, and I could do this, and so on. So by adding these images on top of them, you keep your mind engaged. Why does anyone even move? Why do I move from here to here? Why do I move my hands around? To feel comfortable. The only reason why we move, why do we do anything, is to just feel comfortable. Why do we think? We are satisfying some need inside us of need to know something, need to understand something for clarity and so on. So if I can control those needs, and if I can control all the things that I am expecting or desires, there is a way in which I could control what thoughts influence me. So what are the expectations that I come in, when I come into a session, what are the expectations that I have? Go back with some tips, go back with some ideas, something new. And what if they are not met? Failure, anxiety, waste of time, stress, and so on, right? So we have come into the mind, we have come into a session expecting, oh, okay, this is what I would learn, this is what will happen, and so on. What if we didn't have an expectation? What if you didn't have an expectation? What kind of thoughts? Would your thoughts change? Would your reactions to the outcome change? Right? At least I think, I wouldn't be as concerned about an outcome if I didn't necessarily come with it. So the process of actually having the thoughts is not as important. And our focus is too much on controlling those thoughts, putting them in a box and saying, oh, now I'm focused, now I'm meditating, now I'm doing this. But the time that you spend before those thoughts, the actions, the expectations, the activities that you have done has a much more deeper impact on the thoughts that you will eventually have. So how do I pay attention to my activities, my expectations, what I see, and the images that I overlay on my face, on myself? That is what would create the thoughts ultimately. So at the end of the day, if you were to write a journal of your day, throughout the day, so what would you feel in it usually? Success, failure, experiences, relationships, discussions, insights, plans for the next day, lessons learned. Which would top your list? I have a habit of writing, so this is a list that I maintain, but what would you write? To-do list, okay? Yeah? So we are, to-do list symbolizes action consciousness, right? Being action conscious. The thoughts that actually are the most destructive to the human being are the negative thoughts. So if I am sort of repenting on, oh, this should have happened today and that should have happened today and so on, most thoughts about the past are either waste or negative. And do you know how much percentage of our time we spend in thinking about yesterday? More than 80% of our time is spent in thinking about yesterday or based on past experiences. Anything before today that's where we spend most of our time. So just think about what we could do if we increase the percentage of time either we spend in our present or in the future. How do I spend time in the present? How do I spend thinking time in the present? As soon as I see someone, as soon as I hear something, I am immediately drawn to impressions from the past. right? How do I stay in the present? How do I stay in the present? Any examples, any tips?
Slow down, focusing on.
Slow down, very good. What else?
Eye contact.
Eye contact, okay.
Paying
I-
attention to your surroundings.
Sorry?
Paying attention to your surroundings.
Paying attention to your
Details.
surroundings. There are two things that I was slightly, it's just practical and something that has helped me. There comes Jonathan. So two things that have helped me usually and while you get settled down. So how do you pay attention to the current situation, where you are right now? One, see if there's an opportunity to learn from it. That requires some amount of humility, that requires some amount of being open to anything that could come. Where if I actually keep my mind focused on, oh, this is what I came here to expect, this is what I want to learn, you would probably narrow down and say, anything outside this is waste. Anything outside this is not necessary at this time. So this is one way, an opportunity to learn. Every situation in front of you would come to make you better. So if I can make sure that I am at that current moment, I'm open to learn anything. I'm open to any possibility. Right? I am in a better position to handle that situation. My mind, my thought process is in a better frame of work. So if I can just make sure that every minute that I spend, I have this attention of there is a learning that's possible. It could be any situation. Today, me being here is a learning for me. For you being here is a learning for you. But then, if I were to think, oh, I should probably not have come today, or I should not have done this today, I'm missing out an amazing opportunity. I may not be successful, I may not be doing the right thing, but then I'm missing out an amazing experience of being in front of all of you. So if I were to just change the way I look at it and say, from repenting, from worrying about something, to it is an opportunity. I'm living in this present. I didn't think about what happened earlier. I'm not thinking about what will happen next. I'm just maximizing the time that I have now. So the quality of thoughts changes based on one single mindset change, saying that I'm open to what will happen now. Nothing actually would happen later. Okay, I just started, and wonderful session here, all set. Yeah.
We need number 2 before we get in.
Yeah. So one thing to take off, I just was waiting for you. Yeah. So if you just look at the process of learning, right? What does learning do to you at every point of time? It fulfills a need. There is a need. That's the reason you're actually waiting for this, keeping your mind open and waiting to learn something. As soon as you finish an activity, if we can just jot down, oh, this is something that happened today. This is what I could learn from this experience. Each of those learning experiences are incrementally improving your state. The second attitude to have is what I was talking about earlier in terms of nothing good, nothing bad could ever happen. Right? Why do I have a feeling, that anxiety that somebody mentioned? Oh, what would happen next? Right? What would happen next? What is the worst thing that could happen? What's the worst thing that could happen? How would your presentation go today? What's the worst thing that could happen? Right? And then what are the strengths? Would I be any better off by stressing myself over it? Something that I have no control over. Am I at a better situation of solving the problem by being in my peaceful state, calm state, or being in a stressful state? So what gives me a better chance of success? If I understand these two aspects, that there is a learning in every situation, and what's the worst thing that could happen? You can actually change your mindset from the controlling the thoughts aspect, as somebody mentioned, controlling the thoughts, to actually being prepared for anything that will come. I'm not necessarily controlling thoughts, I'm actually better prepared to handle anything that would come. Jay? I know you have a presentation as well to support your talk.
But I'll tell you
Thank you
something
so much.
that I learned from this, right? So my practice as I was getting up, zipping through I-17 trying to get here this morning is, how much can I practice stilling my mind at this time? And I know things are out of my control. So what you were just saying was so apt to just my own journey here. So thank you so much, Banu, for holding this space. And I apologize. I had no idea that something that takes 40 minutes yesterday would take an hour and 10 minutes today. But here we are. So there must have been an introduction. I don't want to spend time on this. I'm going to start off by asking you a question. How many people in this room believe everything that's happening to you is happening because by chance, because of some situation or somebody outside there? Raise of hands, those of you who believe that everything that's happening to me is because of some, strange coincidence, or somebody out there is plotting something out for me. Nobody? Okay, here's the second choice, and I want to see, I hope I'll get some response here. So the second choice, the only other choice is that I am ultimately responsible for everything that's happening to me. Raise of hands. Now, what about those like 2-3 people who didn't raise either?
No, I'm not, sorry.
Sorry?
I didn't wait, but I'm not.
You're nodding, but no, there's a girl behind you who's like still,
I think it's some of both. Sometimes I think we think it's by
Okay.
chance that you get something, and then other things I think we control.
Okay, so it's 50-50, okay. Let me show you something. 2003, I was in India, I was having dinner, and a friend of mine walks up to me. His name is Ricardo Nunes. This guy's from a little island south of Portugal called Madeira. The guy walks up to me, he says, "Jay, I'm going to tell you something really amazing. You'll be amazed when you see these pictures." He said, our center in Lisbon, the capital city of Portugal, it was growing too small. Too many people, too little place, and they didn't have the money. As you know, Portugal, Spain, Greece, all of them are reading in economic recession. So they decided they're going to try something different. And the idea was they brought a toy house, right? So this house is like a Lego house. And this toy house is made of wood. And the way it works is, let's say these 15-20 people here are contributing to the project. He goes first, he contributes an hour of meditation, visualizes the house he wants, picks one block, puts it anywhere he wants. She goes next, meditates, sits and meditates, visualizes for an hour. She picks another block, puts it anywhere she wants, and then after a month of many, many people contributing, this was the end result. Can we turn off some lights so people can see? Thank you. Now I want you to see what this house looks like. Red roof, chimney over to the left. I don't know if you can see, there's a pond in front, and there's a swan in the pond, a flag to the left of the house. A few years later, not immediately, maybe a couple of years later, the government of Portugal has been holding a royal property since they disbanded their monarchy. The house of the jewel keeper, those of you who understand Spanish/Portuguese, Guarda de Joias, right? The jewel keeper's mansion, palace, whatever you want to call it, had been kept by the government for many, many years. They didn't know what to do with it, and they found out that Brahma Kumaris wanted to create this meditation space, and they said, you know what, you can have it. This is what it looks like, folks. Look at the red roof, look at the chimney over to the left, look at the pond, and the swan is plastic, but nevertheless. And then my friend sends me a picture later and says, you know, we didn't mount a flag after all. So I titled this presentation, Thoughts Become Things. Okay? And I think I won't have the time to go through all of this. I plan to speak here, but let's see what we can do. What I want to talk about is how does the mind works? How does the quality of thoughts affect our life? Quality of thoughts affect the world around us? The states of the mind, power of a quiet mind, how to create that quiet state of mind, and the ultimate thought management practice. Any questions before we go on with this? Let's roll. So scientists have been studying this the last 15, 20 years where we've had these EEG. Guess you all know what EEG stands for? Electroencephalograph machines. I'm seeing a lot of nods, so good. So what they say is on an average, let's take rice farmer in China and a stock trader in New York, broad spectrum. A rice trader will probably have anything from 12,000 thoughts per day to a stockbroker, a guy who's frenzied life, will have anywhere something like 55,000 thoughts per day. You all heard of Deepak Chopra? Most of you? He says 95% of our thoughts from one day to the next are identical, very similar. It's interesting, folks. You all know about the Pavlov's dog experiment? Any of you don't know Pavlov's dog? A couple, okay, so I'll do it real quick. Pavlov's dog is a experiment that a Russian scientist wanted to do to understand how physical things, physical instructions, patterns, stimulus, affects how the psychology of creatures, in that case it was a dog, it translates into human beings. So what he did is, he used to ring a bell every day. His dog would come out and he would offer it food. Ring a bell, dog comes out, offer it food. One day he rang the bell, the dog came out, he didn't offer it food, and instead he actually studied what is happening to the metabolic or the activity within that dog. He noticed very clearly that the dog was starting to salivate. He's like, here's my dog food, when my time, I deserve it, the right bell rang, where's my food? So what he translated that to be is that we human beings are also creatures of conditioning, which means that when you have an external stimulus, for example, I'll take my example today, you get stuck in traffic, we are sometimes programmed to believe that we should get all upset, get angry. Yeah? When something else happens, like, take another example, like, somebody has said something to me that is supposed to press a button and I'm supposed to react in a certain way. See, these kind of conditioning have completely shut off our intelligence. There are three aspects of the human consciousness. I don't think we have the time for it today, but we'll probably take it on in a future session if I'm invited back. So there is the intelligence that separates us from animal kingdom. This is the part that makes us be able to project, right? So today we're sitting here in 2013. How will be my finances if I keep spending this way in 2014? This is something that the animal kingdom cannot do. Okay? We are able to empathize. That means by looking at some situation, I can almost transpose that in myself into that position and say, how would I be feeling? Right? And innovation, inventions of things, right? We don't have certain things, but we innovate and we have put man on, sending them to Mars at this point, right? So these are things that make us different from the animal kingdom. But what this man is saying is, this doctor is saying is, we are not using it 95% of the time, right? So let's keep moving. If you pair that 15,000 to 55,000, remember what I showed in the previous slide? If you pair that down to the per minute level, we are sitting somewhere between having 5 to 25 thoughts a minute. Now here's the interesting part, friends. What scientists are saying is, you could be sitting on a beach in Hawaii, the most beautiful place, most peaceful place, and if your mind is worrying, running fast, 25 thoughts per second or there somewhere close to that, you are experiencing misery, pain, and suffering. On the contrary, you could be sitting in the middle of a fish market. Anybody been to a fish market? Yes. Okay, good. Because in India we have fish markets that are really chaotic, okay? You could be in a fish market, if you're having less than 5 or anywhere close to that thoughts per minute, you are experiencing peace, contentment, and bliss. Isn't that interesting? That means we are completely in control of what we are experiencing. Right. This is an interest. How many people in this room, seems like a pretty enlightened crowd here, how many people in this room have watched this movie, What the Bleak Do We Know? 1, 2, 3, 4, slowly hands coming up, 5, 6, 7, okay. This is a movie that I think it's not the regular movie, it's a documentary. It's made by some of the top quantum physicists in the world. So they're trying to understand this concept of where does consciousness come? Where does the human thought, the thing that makes us different from animals, where does that come from? And what they did is, among many things that they researched in that documentary, they put up this particular research experiment that happened in Washington, D.C. Why Washington, D.C.? It is because it's one of the most crime-ridden cities in America. This guy, Dr. John Hagelin, did an experiment and he said, let us understand, there's a bunch of, like, let's say, this kind of a room, 800 people sit in a space like this. How is it going to affect the crime rate in the community around us? So he got 800 people to sit down for 8 weeks. If I can't remember, it's 4 or 6 hours a day, something like that. And he studied, he called the police department and asked them to give him feedback on what's happening every week. Notice what happens. First 4 weeks, nothing much happens. Flat curve. Okay, so what you have on the y-axis here is number of people meditating. What you have on this other y-axis is the drop or the decrease in crime rate, right? With a greater percentage, that means the greater impact of this experiment. And what you have here is the number of weeks on the x-axis. First 4 weeks, nothing happens. At the end of the 4th week, 2 things happen, 2 inflection points. Number 1, the number of people who are collectively meditating jumps by about 3-fold, 800 to about 2,800. Watch the crime rate. From almost no change, it drops to about 24%. You can go look it up, it's published on the internet, Google it, it's called the DC study. Many places have repeated this experiment since this time. Our thoughts not only affect our things, our thought affect our family, our work environment, and our community around us. Nothing is more powerful of a message than this, my friends. Because you don't compete with it, you don't argue with it, you just feel it. Let me ask you this question. How many people in this room have been to a place of worship that is not their faith? Raise your hands. Most of you? Good. Did you experience a sense of peace when you went there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Most of us, right? I did too. How does that work? I don't believe in that God. I don't know what form of worship happens here. How do I feel peace in that space? Anybody can tell me what the answer is?
It lives there.
You feel it from the people around you.
You feel not only the people around you, there's nobody there.
It's spiritual.
You feel it from the walls. The last person who came there, in whatever his prayer, wished for goodness for his family, let's say. Wished for him to be able to overcome his own weaknesses or her own weaknesses. Prayed for somebody else. That leaves a wave, and that's reverberating there, and somebody walks in brand new, doesn't have an idea. You can't deny it. You don't believe in that, but you cannot deny it that you are feeling good right now. Same thing, take that to the next level, this is what you see. The community can change based on how we create our thoughts. This is what it looks like when you have your head hooked up to all these different electrodes trying to understand the thought activity. They say on an average, every human being goes through these 4 phases every day. The first one's called the beta waves. The beta state is when you're awake, when you're just talking to somebody, on the phone, when you're, running around doing your own business. We create thoughts which are sporadic, high intensity, which means there's a big spike, amplitude, but less wavelength. That means these thoughts don't stay for long. It's like a lot of chatter. The next state is when you start slowing down. You know that time when you just about fall asleep? Everybody does this every day. It's a very kind of a peaceful state. Scientists call that the alpha state. And that's when you start seeing space between your thoughts. Thoughts take longer before they vanish. Less thoughts and less peaking. That means they don't have that much peak energy, but they tend to prolong in duration. Next level, have you seen your younger brother or sister or even your pet, when it goes to sleep, its eyes are flickering? Eyelids are closed, but the eyes are flickering. Have you all seen that? Some of you have seen it, okay? What do they call that?
REM sleep. REM sleep.
REM sleep. What does REM stand for? Rapid Eye Movement Sleep. Okay? REM sleep is the theta waves. That is the thing, that point in time when you're having a dreamful state. That's another word for it, dreamful state. And then there comes another state, which is the greatest relaxation that you experience every night. And it's actually a very short period. That's what they call the delta waves. Now here's the interesting fact, folks. You can simulate all of these different states while being completely awake. Same thing, same steps. Let's look at what happens here. Normal state, the soul, I'm using words which I haven't talked about, the energy of the spirit of the body starts getting dispelled as we're thinking, talking, doing. We are losing energy. That's the normal beta state. The second state, relaxed state, I am beginning to feel relaxed, reduced blood pressure, no prescription drugs involved. Just by slowing down my thought activity, my blood pressure begins to slow down or reduce. Next, I start feeling relaxation, reduced anxiety to the next level. Next, REM sleep. I'm beginning to, there's something interesting here. The third eye opens. Dreamful state, right? The next state, delta waves, non-dreamful state. I'm experiencing deep sleep. Like I said, that's when the human being has maximum rejuvenation. Any questions about this? Then I have a question for you. What is this thing that I have there on the fourth bullet? Third eye opens. What is the third eye?
The ability to see everything.
Ability to see everything. What does that mean? Like 360-degree vision? I'm not sure what that means.
To see where is going on with your life.
Okay, so sort of an introspection. Okay. Okay. Anybody who can give me a real good answer, so that everybody in this room, whether you're believers, non-believers in this concept, whether you have experience or don't have experience of meditation, you just get it.
Is it conscious or subconscious?
Conscious or subconscious, okay. Again, those are kind of ethereal terms. You know, I want something like really crisp so you just get it. Okay, anybody who wants to be a quick volunteer? I don't know how much time we've got. Come on up. Now I need you to sit down here. Can you sit on the floor?
Yes.
Are you good at sitting on the floor?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm going to sit on the floor in front of you, but I'm going to kick off my shoes though. What's your name?
Arthurina,
Arthurina. Arthurina, where were you born and raised?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay. Do you have relatives anywhere else, like, you know, grandma living somewhere else, or uncles and aunts that you go visit sometimes?
Well, they're still in state. Is it-
Oh, that's okay. Another city, yeah.
Okay, yes.
Where would that be?
Almirage, Arizona.
So,
Almirage.
El Mirage, okay. I want you to describe to me, who is this? Is this a parent,
My
grandparent?
grandparent.
Grandparent, grandmother, grandfather?
Grandmother.
Grandmother, okay. Really quick, can you describe to me, what does that house look like? Suppose you would go there. Can you describe to me what the street, just quickly about the building and all that?
Okay. Well, when you drive down the street, you gotta kind of drive by a car wash. It's this little road. There's apartments on one side, house on another. And as soon as you come down the road, you'll see her house, kind of the second house from the corner. She's got like a brick fence with metal rod fence connected to it. Her house, she's got some trees. She's got I want to say it's kind of like an awning kind of thing in the front yard. It's kind of cluttered.
Okay.
And then her house, it's 3-bedroom, white and burgundy.
Yeah.
Um,
Good
she-
enough. Good
Huh?
enough, good enough, good
Okay.
enough. You did a good job. I usually have to ask 3-4 questions before you start doing this action, but you did it in my first question, so great. So here's what happened, folks. Sit right there. Did you all notice? I asked her one question, she was looking at me, and then she starts using her hands. And did you notice something when she was talking about the green, the awning? Her eyes roll to the left, and she comes back to me, she said, this is awning and there's a lot of clutter. I have a question for you. Your eyes rolled, you're probably looking at her on the floor there. But were you seeing that, what you were describing to me?
Yeah, well, when I looked over here, I seen it.
You see it. Now the question I have for all of you is, if her 2 eyes are looking at stuff in the room, wide open, right? How is she seeing that which is describing to us? That's a third eye. Were you seeing it? True, you were
Yes.
seeing it, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So folks, we all have the third eye. We all use it all the time, whether you know it or not. Therefore, when we teach meditation here, we ask you to keep your eyes open and learn to meditate. Why? Because we live in life, in society, do things, deal with challenges, deal with traffic like I did this morning, with your eyes open. So if you can take yourself into that state of being peaceful, stressless, and deal with it, that is the greatest value to you. Okay? So I'm kind of trying to consolidate. I go through this kind of very slowly, but given the time, I'm kind of fast tracking it for you. So now I have a little meditation exercise. Are you ready for that? Yeah? Nobody's going to fall asleep. It's just a little past 8. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to sit here. Like I said, keep your eyes open. I'm going to walk you through some thought processes, and then I have a question that I'll bring up on the screen, and I want you to think about that. So back straight as much as possible. Be comfortable however you're sitting. And I want you to start by taking in some deep, comfortable breaths. When I ask you to take in deep breaths, I want you to breathe down to your stomach, not just to your chest. Just like when you see a baby sleeping, you'll see the breathing through the rise and fall of the stomach, not the chest. So breathe in nice and deep down to the pit of the stomach. And let go. And with each inhalation, I want you to just observe the air that's coming in through the nose and going down through the windpipe, filling the lungs, down to the very bottom of the lungs. And then as you're exhaling, notice the warm air that is being sent back up through the windpipe and out of the nostrils. Now I want you to gently step inwards. Let's take our attention underneath the skin, the flesh, and the bones, to the very core of this body. And the very core of this body is an energy, a life force. And this life force is what keeps this body alive. And this life force flows from the top of the head down through the core channel of the body into your legs and into the tips of your toes. I want you to feel the tips of your toes right now. If you need to wiggle them, go ahead. But feel the tips of your toes. And if you can feel the tips of your toes, it means there's energy there. Now let's trace this energy back through the foot. Let's go to the heel of the foot. Feel the heel of your foot right now. Let's trace this energy up through the ankles, through the shins, to the knees. Feel the knees right now. let's go up through the thighs to the pelvic bone, to your back, where your back is rested on the floor. Feel the point of contact where your back is rested on the floor. Now let's go up through the spine, from the bottom of the spine, go past the abdomen, the stomach, the chest, into the bottom of the neck. Now let's start with the tips of the fingers. Touch the tips of the fingers if you need to, but I want you to feel the tips of your fingers. And gradually, let's take that attention to the palms, to the wrist, to the forearms, to the elbows, and up the arms to the shoulders. And then from the shoulders, let's go inwards towards the neck. And then let's go up the neck and trace the energy from the back of the neck to the back of the head, to the top of the head, to the front of the head. And let's settle here just in between the eyebrows. Now I want you to notice that this place, just below the brain, in between the ears, somewhere behind the eyes, somewhere just behind the eyes, this seems to be the center of all consciousness of this body. This is the center of all thought processes. This is also the center of all memories. This seems like the epicenter of this entire conscious energy that I am. My language, my true language is silence. My form is a point of conscious energy. And my religion, my true religion, is peace. And I sit here behind these eyes at the center of the forehead, and I operate this entire body in all its bodily functions. I look through these eyes, I listen through these ears. It is from here that I smell, I taste through the tongue, I speak through the mouth, and it's from here that I can feel the sensation on the skin throughout the body. And in this state of being connected with my essential self, I experience a deep sense of peace. And in this state of being connected with myself, I have clarity and access to great wisdom that is inherent within me. Sometimes I forget this. I get caught up in the drama called life. I forget that I'm a soul and not the role. At such such times with us when the stresses and the strains, the doubts and the worries, the anxiety and the fears kick in. At such a time, all I have to do is just turn inwards and connect with myself and sit here just behind these eyes. It's from this place of calm, I want each of you to reflect on this question. What do I really want in life? What do I really want in life? Thank you. So I've got a few more slides. How much time do I have before I wrap up?
About 1 minute.
Alright, so fast forwarding, I can send this presentation to Dana and she can share it with you, some great points here, but I want to just leave you with a few things that I think are really precious, given I have 30 or 40 seconds right now. If you don't already have a meditation practice, my friends, find one. I know that Banu and Dana, they do meditation, they meet every day. Banu teaches here in Phoenix. And there's some flyers that I have, you can come and grab it from me later. If you have a practice, great. If not, please find one. The second thing is, we have lots of resources online, so if you want to jot down this website, there's free videos that you can watch, 2-3 minute videos that will completely change how you feel. Make time to remember what you love. Because if you don't, nobody else will. If you don't, this barrage, this huge wave of life will just carry you and it'll drop you on the other side when you're sitting sick in your bed or about to leave the body. It'll be too late to stop and think about what I did for myself or did I really live to my true potential at that point. So please make time for yourself. Find people that have a higher state of consciousness to hang out with. You could be a saint, and if you're hanging out with people who are all the time talking about what next thing they're going to buy, or what new gadget that's come out there, or what movie that happened yesterday, or stuff like that, they will pull you down. There's a very common concept in physics. It's called everything reaches a state of equilibrium. Same with consciousness, nothing special there. Find like-minded people who have higher ideals in life to spend time with. I have another reflection. I know I don't have time, so I'll leave you with my email address. Hit me up with questions. Thank you very much.